everybody, my name is Mr. Bacon Universal, and welcome to the first ever episode in the Learn C++ tutorial series. So today we are using an application called CodeBlocks, and I'm going to be showing you how to write your very first program, which in this case will be the Hello World program. So before we get started, I would just sort of like to notify you and let you know that I am a beginner in C++. I'm overall new to the programming language. I started learning it a few weeks ago, so I know a good bit of it, and obviously I know enough to make a few tutorials, but I'm not the most advanced person in it, as you can probably guess. So if you start writing super advanced questions in the comments, I may not be able to answer. However, if you ask questions about things that I cover in these videos, then obviously I likely will be able to answer them. And feel free to ask any questions you may have about anything you see in this video or the upcoming tutorial videos. So, as I said, we are using a program or an IDE called CodeBlocks. This is a very, very cool free IDE for C and C++ coding. C++ coding, excuse me. The link to download this will be on the screen right now and will also be in the description. I do recommend that you use this program for these videos. Now, obviously, there are plenty other programs to use for C and C++ coding, but I figured it would just be easier if I use CodeBlocks and you use CodeBlocks, just so there's no differences between the programs, like, you can't do something because your program is different than mine, etc. Stuff like that. Just to avoid complications, I do recommend you download CodeBlocks. However, you don't have to. If you want to use another program and you feel that you can operate it just fine, then feel free to do that. So anyway, whenever you launch CodeBlocks, you will see this page right here. This is the start page. It's the Start Here page. This is sort of the default page where you can create projects, open projects, blah, blah, blah. So to create your new C++ program or project, you're going to come down here to create a new project, and you're going to click that. So you might think that we want to click something like empty project or something else. Actually, we don't. For this, we're going to click console application. Then we're going to come over here and we're going to click go. So it'll bring you to a little confirm page, but once you click next, it should bring you to this page. You can choose your programming language. Obviously, we are going to be using C++ for this video, so make sure it's selected and then click next. So this is where you insert the project title and some other information. For the title, I'm just going to name it tutorial video. Alright, so, and also down here, this is going to be where you choose the location of your project. Now, I already have one pre-selected for a folder on my desktop. I recommend that you do the same, or that you just send it to your desktop or someplace that is just easily accessible, because you're going to want to be able to access the files in the future. So just make sure you can get to it pretty easily and choose the location, stuff like that. So yeah, just come down here and click next. Then it'll bring you to this page. Everything on here by default should be correct. Just ignore this and click finish. Alright, so now the start page disappears and you have this brand new file over here called tutorial video, or whatever you named your project. So what you want to do is you want to come down here to sources, double click it, and then come down here to main. Alright, so before we do anything else, I know this may seem a bit overwhelming and weird if this is your first time coding and or your first time coding in C++. So what you want to do is you want to come over here, select all this text that you see me selecting, and quite simply delete it. Just click backspace or delete or whatever. Just get rid of that text. Okay, so let's get into what we're actually gonna be doing. So let me explain a few things you see on your screen here first. This right here represents the sort of main class, okay? And basically everything in here is something, or it's like the code your program will run when it launches. Okay, like, so when you launch your program, all the code in this group and in between these brackets for the group will be run, like, first thing. And basically you're going to want to put all of your code in between these two brackets. So you can make it a big space between the brackets if you want. Whatever, if you're going to have a big program, obviously, you're going to have a big space between the brackets. But yeah, that's basically what this is. This is a namespace. It's sort of a, like, I don't know how to explain it very well. It's sort of a package of things you can use in your code. And this is also a sort of like including another library. We'll get into that stuff later. I realize this is very confusing and overwhelming and bluck, but we'll get into that in another tutorial most likely. Maybe next time, maybe the time after that, I don't know. But I will explain some of this in greater detail in the future. So let's go ahead and get started. So what we are going to be doing today is coding and creating the Hello World program. So for those of you who don't know, the Hello World program is a very, very simple program. All it does is say Hello World. The system outputs the text that says Hello World. So that's quite simply all it does. So it's pretty simple. Now, when it comes to different programming languages, they all use some kind of thing to output information. For Java, it would be something like system.out.println, then you do that, then you do hello world, and yeah, so that's what Java would do to output text or information, but obviously that's not the way we're going to do it for C++. For C++, whenever you want to output any kind of information, whether it's text or a variable or whatever, you're simply going to type C out. That's all you're going to do to start the line of what you're going to output. Just C out. So basically what this does is it tells the program or the computer, hey, I want you to start outputting this information. And then after this, we're going to be putting the information that the program is going to be outputting. And by the way, when I say output, I mean information that it's going to let the user see, basically. That's basically what I mean by output. So, what we're going to do is we're going to put in the information which is going to be hello world. That's what we want the system to output. That's what we want the user to see. So before you can just type hello world, you actually have to do two little less than signs, or these kind of arrow thingamabobs. This will sort of point to the data that you want to output. So whenever you want to output, you always start the phrase with cout, then these little less than signs. So then what you want to do is you want to put quote, and you want to type hello, hello world. And then quote, and then semicolon. So let me explain some of this. Basically, let me read this in the King's English for you. It's basically saying, hey computer, I want you to output this information. Output hello world. And then the semicolon sort of represents the end of the statement. It represents a sort of period at the end of a sentence. It signifies that that phrase is complete. There's nothing else after that. So basically, that's all you really need to do for the system to say hello world. Now, as you can see, it's a lot simpler than Java, which I showed you earlier. If you wanted to do the exact same thing in Java, you would have to do this, which is system.out.println, hello world, stuff like that. You know, obviously this is a lot shorter and more concise than Java. That's why I really like C++. It just seems to be a lot shorter and more packed together. You know, it's like Java and some other languages are quite extensive, where C++ is just nice and compact. So what you want to do now is you want to test it, and you want to see if your program actually runs. To do this, what you need to do is you want to come right up here and click build, and then come down to build and run. What that'll do is it'll build the program, sort of put it all together, then it will run the program, and actually you can see the program in action. So let's go ahead and click that, and then booyah, you should get this command prompt. Now whether you're on Mac or Windows, it'll just be sort of this default command prompt, or at least it should be. And booyah, as you can see, it says hello world. So that means our program was successful, which is great. So congratulations, you have coded the hello world program, your first ever program, or at least it's your first ever program in C++. So the episode is basically over now, guys. However, I am going to recap just to make sure you understand everything. So int main is the main group of code. This is what your application will run by default. Cout is how you start a phrase to output information to the console. The arrows always come after cout to signify what data you want to output. And then this is hello world. That's the actual data that the system is going to output. Then the semicolon ends a phrase. So that's basically it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this episode. The next episode will be out very, very soon. In the next episode, we're probably going to be covering integers and variables, or at least the starting parts of variables. So yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you later. Goodbye.